Today is November 14th. It is 2023, and we have all commissioners present, along with Charles Webb, and Lapita is here as well to present to us, correct? With that, if we can, please stand, if you're able, for the pledge of allegiance. I'm sorry for invocation.
Father, once again, we thank you today for life, health, and strength in our mind. We pray that you continue to bless us, lead us and guide us, and pray for our community, strengthen us. Let us be in one. We ask this in your son Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We don't need to change that.
We can judge it on God.
Charles, you want to, are we waiting on Bobby? Is he gonna come?
No.
He's not coming? Okay. Well, let's get started like that.
We're just gonna jump right into, you wanna start with signs, is that what we're gonna start? Go through the, we just amended this, not long ago, so hopefully it's, in pretty good shape, and we'll go through it for you.
Thank you. So I'm Prince McClain, I'm a planner with Coleman Associates, and I'm happy to be here in Crescent City for your land development code update. We're updating your land development code so that your regulations and your processes can better align with Crescent City's unique sense of community, so that we can preserve your natural and cultural resources, and that we can equitably leverage and distribute the benefits of development. So as part of the LDC, members of your planning and zoning have made recommendations to the city commission. Their role as the land use authority is to review the purposes of the regulations and achieve local goals and objectives that are outlined in the comprehensive plan, and that they protect your valued assets. So your team has over 80 years of experience. The primary goals of the team was to help determine whether the prescribed regulations are in compliance within industry best standards, to check that the topic is clearly formulated, and to decide if a suitable approach has been taken to address the development issues. This is a list of your development team here. So we began by performing an assessment of the current land development code to identify deficiencies, and the review focused on the code's suitability to satisfy the land development objectives, consistency with the comprehensive plan, and how easy they were to enforce. And the scope also included developing potential solutions relevant for the code update. So the land development code is developed in accordance with state statute, which you'll see today's reannexation, and following industry best practices to encourage high quality development and provide for a streamlined review process. So as you've heard me say many times before, good codes are the foundation upon which communities are built. So the framework that regulate where and what type of development can occur, and when well done, it makes it easier for local government to implement its vision. So this is the schedule. We're a little bit behind on your schedule. And it includes reviewing the interim work products monthly, and following the P&Z review comment, the articles are forwarded to the city commission, which is where we are today, and then we have workshops scheduled to review the proposed code before it actually goes to public hearing. So this is a copy of the diagnostic review, where it is in the current article and where it is in the proposed article. So on April 14th of 2022, that staff workshop was held to initiate this process. And on June 23rd, a joint city commission and planning board workshop was held to study the issues. And the results of the workshops were key to identifying which ones were identified as priority in your diagnostic review. The results also identified issues and challenges, and acknowledged its waterfront gateway locations for St. Johns River. It also envisioned a code that would usher in livable pedestrian oriented downtown with its historic character, which is what I hope your master plan is addressing. And so the major focus areas in your priorities diagnostic review included the creation of downtown district, harbor and landscaping requirements, and adding design standards that included other tasks such as updating chapters 1 through 6. So once again, these, on the left-hand side, your diagnostic review, in the middle is where it's found in the current article, and where it is found in the proposed land development code updates. And, the pages of these. Okay, so creating the code has been a process which has led to the elimination of duplication and clarification resulting from some of your regulations being found in several different ordinances and different parts of your local code. So the proposed regulations are intended to achieve a handful of objectives, including preserving open space and environmentally sensitive areas, and to make the development review process more predictable. And additionally, the city's assets, including downtown and preservation of the historic district, are included with incentivized downtown overlay, and the components of the development code comprise all your regulations and standards that have historically been scattered throughout all your ordinances, subdivision regulations, and various other regulatory documents. So, as you know, Chapter 3 zoning establishes where development within districts are and your land uses, what type of permits required, and what standards apply to new uses and developments, so we don't create non-conforming uses. Article 6 was your site plan regulations, and that involves compliance with the technical standards. We developed clear procedures for reviewing and approving site plans, and site plan ensures construction is designed and developed in a manner which assures adequate provisions are made for traffic, for safety, emergency access, water and sewer, pipe sewer, eventually hopefully, and management of stormwater, erosion and protection of your environment, groundwater habitats, historic resources, and minimizing adverse impacts on adjacent properties. So Article 7, your subdivision regulations, this addresses the quality of development. It's the first step in the process of community development. Land is divided into streets, lots, and blocks, and it's publicly recorded. And this is important because subdivision of land sooner or later becomes a public responsibility, and that roads and streets must be maintained, and various public services must be provided. So obviously the community is affected in many important respects with that. Okay, so this is important because zoning affects how the city looks and works, and subdivision regulations affect the quality of developments. This is just an overview. We also went over Article 8, which is concurrency, and that's land use regulations that local governments are required by Florida legislature to adopt to ensure that new development does not outstrip the local government's ability to handle it. And the public facilities that are subject to concurrency are sanitary sewer, solid waste, drainage, and potable water. The local government may extend the requirements so it applies to additional facilities such as parks within your community. On Article 8, the information that's required includes general information about development and specific information needed to assess the impacts. That's what staff will receive when we have somebody who's interested in developing. And what happens if it's not concurrent? Well, if it's not, applicants have the option to either withdraw their project, to scale back the project, or agree to implement conditions or mitigation options that will make the project concurrent. So moving on to Article 9, which is signs. This is what we're going to review today. It's already been previously adopted. Now we're just going to codify it, although we are proposing one small amendment from the one that was previously adopted, and that is deleting pole signs. It was in the definitions, and so that is crossed out based on the recommendation and determination from the city council. So this is intended to promote the city's economic well-being, traffic safety and visual environmental quality by creating a legal framework to govern the number, location, and other characteristics of your signs. So it's intended, this section, to encourage signs which are compatible with their surroundings and appropriate. In 2022, Present City Planning and Zoning recommended amendments to section 6.7.2 and 6.7.3 of the Code of Ordinances. And the Present City Commission adopted ordinance 2211 after 2 public hearings on July the 14th. And so what was each day is an update on the development code that accounts for all amendments that were considered in that ordinance 2022-11, except for, as I mentioned earlier, we are eliminating pole signs. And that will be the only difference that you see.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
What is a pole sign?
Flag sign.
Yeah.
The old gas stations, a really tall pole and then a sign way at the top. I think Winn-Dixie would actually be considered a pole sign. We won't get any more of those.
When did we decide that?
Well, that's something for your consideration.
Oh, Lupita said we already recommended.
Well,
We're recommending it to you.
Oh, you're recommending it to us?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not like forgetting a whole meeting or something. That would be disconcerting. Okay.
it is a recommendation that's obviously consideration of the city commission if they want to delete it. It is crossed out as a way to denote our recommendation.
And that was planning and zoning recommendation.
No, that was me.
That was your
Yeah.
recommendation, okay.
And think about when McDonald's comes in, we want them to have a really tall arches up or a monument sign up front,
Okay.
or to scale.
So I have
I
another
was thinking it
question.
was more those other poles, the flag,
Freestanding.
yeah.
So, in other words, I don't remember seeing pole signs in here that says they're being crossed out, but are we crossing them out or are we gonna address their existence is what I'm kind of asking.
Here forward, that somebody comes in for a sign permit, like, there cannot be a freestanding pole sign.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, I'm not finding it in the code. So maybe we're adding that as a clarification or something like that. I just don't.
Do we have it in
understand.
here, do we have it addressed in here, or is it just not in here and so then it would not be allowed? Are we gonna put something in here and say that it's not allowed? Is that what you're asking?
But I'm saying that if we're adding it,
It's in your definitions and your freestanding poles. I'm not there yet, but when you get there,
okay, so it's somewhere
yes.
in there. Okay, all right.
I'm also going to be addressing, Article 10, which is annexation. This is straight out of, the legislation. There's 4 ways in which annexation may take place, by special act of the legislature: a voluntary annexation, an involuntary annexation, or through an interlocal agreement with Putnam County. And, Florida statutes 171.0413 are the required procedures for annexation.
And then we take that.
We have public inputs, and we have to take some, and, still the next steps, identify the zoning map changes that have been recommended and present, adoption at public hearings, and still have plenty of time to make final revisions, at any time that the council, that the city commission, other, would like to do that. So ultimately, we'll present the land development code and zoning map, to the city commission to adopt the updated land development code, also make final revisions requested during those public hearings, and, interested citizens obviously are encouraged to provide comments and input during planning and zoning meetings. Okay, so we're gonna jump into,
Hold on, Peter, we have one question, Commissioner Moore.
You said the zoning map changes. Really the only thing, we're not changing any of the zoning, it's just we're doing the overlays and like parking incentives in that part.
we added the central business district, those boundaries, and, the incentives.
So that's what we would be
Yeah,
about.
that's what would be,
That's
reviewed.
But on
This-
the residential, we're not changing any, okay, that would be a concern, so, okay.
we're We do have an additional, residential zone, but it does not change your density requirements in your comprehensive plan. It's just allowing a little bit of variation for your lot size, but it does not, impact your density. That's prescribed in your comprehensive plan.
But we're not changing any actual zoning on certain pieces of property.
So Article 9, please.
You want to start on page, well, 111, is that where you want to start?
Okay, so, Article 9, this is the table of contents, signs, permitting, definitions, standards, non-conforming exceptions, and enforcement.
This is the version that was not the updated one, because the updated one should
Let me
have
see the other one.
severability on it, 9.6. And so that's the one that we distributed to everyone. Yeah, I can send it to you.
Karen, you have any other?
And Karen has it.
I don't have an email on there, no. None of us do.
We can just bring it on the pin drive, it's
Yeah,
not
just
in
take
there.
it. Oh, sure.
Yeah, do you want me to, here, I got a drive right here.
You don't have this one yet.
No, this drawing.
No, you just try it there.
Give me just 1 second.
That's what I thought it was one of, yeah. I lost
Find it.
first.
Yeah.
No,
Mayor, I have a question. I don't remember, did we take roll? I just said all commissioners were present. Okay.
I can't find whole sites in there.
Yeah.
I think it's got a different name.
It's all freestanding.
Yeah, Charles, I think it's freestanding. I just wanted to
Give me one
make sure
second.
I knew, you know, where it was, what we
So
were
page
talking about.
3, freestanding sign.
you see,
But it talks about posts and, so that would eliminate if we prohibit pole signs, then we don't need to worry about the height of signs. Is that the idea, Charles?
Correct, we want to eliminate, we have a cap on monument signs already, and this would eliminate those, I call highway signs, those.
Golden arches, that's 30 feet off the ground.
Yeah, it creates that clutter,
300 feet.
mostly along the 17 corridors where that'll be a problem in the future.
Right now, I would welcome the golden arches.
Visual.
trying to find it.
One
1 second, please.
Start Article 9 signs that we check out.
Copy options, commissioner bags.
Well,
Documents. Trying to find the folder, it's the scan drive itself.
Is that one you draw?
Yeah, it's small, but I can email it to her now.
No, I have it actually up, but I'm just trying to find my thumb drive thing, because it's not pulling up, is what I'm trying to say, it's not pulling
Commissioner
up.
Tito, you have a question, Mr. Wright?
I did, but I think I forgot it. It was about pole signs, tall signs, we won't be ready to, oh, I know what it was.
I'm not registered.
We have some signs that are in bad condition. Or sometimes there are signs, but some of them are gone. It used to be, there were quite a few signs around here for businesses that were no longer in existence. Is that allowable under our code, just to have a sign on the property for?
I think that we go through this, I'd like, if we can we hold that until we can kind of go through it and talk about that? Because I think that's gonna be an issue.
I don't know why it's not coming up,
Because
honestly.
We have to
Look,
also.
look.
Yeah,
Signs,
sign.
Putting it in.
posts. There's not as many as there used to be. I think maybe somebody used them for lumber for a long time.
Alright.
Okay.
No, it comes up here.
Bad signs,
No, I
so
gotta
we have
find
to
that.
add one.
I have nothing.
Like, can people
So-
get away with it by saying it's, sculpture or, some,
Sometimes be careful, because,
See, I have nothing.
Black City Cafe was a historic neon sign. It
right,
was closed, and it really met the requirements, so you have to take that down.
See what I'm talking about? It's
So
like
they had
out
to
here.
take extra steps to preserve it, also the one for the children.
The drive.
Oh, well, it was there.
The
So go back to here.
Clothing store used to be having.
Oh, right.
That's what I'm talking about. It's not here unless I pull it out and then I put it back in.
I guess designated as a storage in order to
Well, there's nothing on the
get
drive.
around the
See,
sign
and now I
codes,
can't pull up
which was then taken down.
what I need to pull up to get
Well, you know, that this is
the
Okay,
file
well, if
there.
you can find the file, you can say send to.
one that I've already
Don't,
commented.
well,
When they
we closed
did,
it, so.
this big park, there was a sign that dated, I don't know, from the thirties or forties. And the neighborhood was just adamant, it was an archway that led into the park. And the neighborhood was just adamant that that we kept. It's a really interesting structure. It looks, it's got Spanish tile in the archway, it's got Spanish tile on the top, and it had plaques in it that kids had made, probably people's great grandparents or something.
Yeah.
And so they kept that, but it was
Wait a
on,
minute, hang on.
it was on city property, it was more architectural.
Okay, W
But
S
I
C,
didn't-
yeah.
I
So
just
you
have
can
those,
right
some
click,
things that
copy.
will get attached.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be even here that would be considered.
Or send to, let's see, where's,
Until it comes up.
Yeah.
Let me ask a question, Peter,
Damn.
is all we're missing on this is severability?
No, there's.
No, is there more
There's
changes?
a lot.
I mean, it's, okay, from the version she has.
I don't know why it's not pulling it up.
okay,
I think
well,
what
we
we
can
just
just
saying
hit
is
copy.
that it will be an out-of-date version, and it doesn't have
Right,
some
copy.
And there's very several definitions,
And
so
then close out of that.
this is the
and then-
version before I gave her the most recent two ordinances that had been, in 2022 and stuff. So there's definitions that are not there, and all kinds of stuff.
Right, because that was what we brought up at the last meeting. Well,
And
is
then
it
go to
possible
folders and see
to,
if it comes up
I mean,
there. and
does this have to be displayed? Is it possible to run or a paper copy? Because the whole sign thing is not long.
Our printer is down.
Of course it is.
I'm
Of
sorry.
course it is.
How long till it gets repaired?
Until Xerox decides they want to come in and take care
I thought they were usually,
Oh, that one,
Ongoing.
down
of it.
there.
On down.
This one?
Yeah,
yeah, that would might help you just pull it.
Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna print it for you.
Charlie, your printer's down?
I have a black and white printer. It's not gonna have the highlighted copy in it, but at least,
Oh, my goodness.
I just.
Can we just move on with what we've got?
That's what we're trying to make sure that her copy is like our copy.
She's coming, yes, trying to copy this.
You weren't able to transfer to a pen drive?
no, we couldn't find it. We can't find the drive.
Is it on your, it's not on your computer in there?
It is.
this is the one for 10.
Yeah, for sure. And I said it was rushes.
You wanna go ahead and do 10? Let's start with 10. Otherwise-
Still on the road here.
Okay, Rita, let's go to 10. You're good with that.
Okay, this is annexation, and this, is straight out of, the legislation code.
Statute, okay.
So we start with definitions, and please stop me if there's any questions on those definitions.
Let's go through and see, Commissioner, do you have any questions on page 2? As far as the definitions. Okay, page 3.
Um,
On enclave.
Right, there's a stray,
Registered petitioner of the enclave.
You see that one? Okay.
Okay, the purpose of this chapter is to establish a process for the receipt and consideration of annexation petitions or annexations initiated by the city of Crescent City. So this provides the extension of Crescent City as such a time as property owner of its time determining extension is article.
This time, and it's under the WP.
Thank you. So we have 6 purposes, and they're all in accordance with statute 171.041. Here's the general provisions, which any area that's annexed to Crescent City shall be subject to all your laws, ordinances, and regulations in force and types of same privileges.
Okay, let's go back, let me just make sure on page 4, commissioners, do you have any questions, any comments?
no,
Okay.
Here's the procedures for annexations. Here's one process with referendums.
I don't have any questions.
Okay. This is on page 5 for the commissioner, going on to page 6. We're still talking about procedures. Moving on to page 7. Still talking about procedures. And moving on to 10.5, these are the prerequisites for statute for annexation.
Okay, do you have any questions on this? Page 7, the beginning of that.
And moving on to page 8, we're still under procedures. And moving on to 10.6, if there's any questions so far on 8. At the bottom of page 8. So this is the character of the area to be annexed and it has to meet these general standards.
So let me ask you something on A where it says the total area to be. As we go out 308 and say there's the elementary school out there, and we want to annex past that elementary school, and the school district does not want to be annexed in. Do we have the ability to annex them in?
Well, you could do
Because we can't jump over them, because then we would not be contiguous.
You can go on the other side of the street though.
No,
You can go, I mean, contiguous just means it touches. So
Well-
we could go around it, as long as we're not forming an enclave.
you cannot form an enclave, but if you can find another way to be contiguous to property, the other side of it.
Yeah.
But you cannot form an enclave.
well,
But
there's a
you
road
can-
there, there's a four-way there. So there's a four-way set.
So is there another way to annex
No,
properties contiguous?
no, you've got a road dividing, and it's a county road dividing.
Do we know for sure that the school board is not on it?
Well, I don't know that, I'm just saying that.
Or you could do it through a development agreement,
Okay.
and if you do it through involuntary, you solve those, requirements there for
So that would be that, okay.
And also there's the south part of 308 and up and around. Contiguous just means touching, it doesn't really mean that it all has to touch right on it. Right? I mean, you can go,
Yeah, I
You
think
can go
it has to
around
be
that.
touched, it means it's
Contiguous.
It has
And
to be
then
contiguous, I mean, if we have property on the south side of 308, we
well,
go all the way down and around, that's contiguous.
Yeah, across the street.
Yeah.
Contiguous.
across the street, yeah.
Right.
But
I think.
I wanna go, what if we want, then you've eliminated that whole north side of the street.
No,
But
no,
you-
that's
No,
just-
because you still have to cross over, you still have to cross over a county road.
But we still have Crescent City behind the school that we move forward.
Yeah, you just go around.
Yeah.
You just go
Yeah,
around the
just
back
go
part of
around
it.
That part,
And
is-
the
Back
never
part.
see it all.
streets can be annexed.
I mean, it sounds like, you know, why would the school want to be annexed? Or why would you want to?
And if anything, it would be.
It's just a question if they don't, not that
They don't.
Because their water
They don't.
bill would be cheaper.
Right now, once.
And I'm not saying that they don't want to, I'm just asking,
Because they
that's
don't
a
want
general
to.
question. I just, Because to me, it's not contiguous, and you have to go.
Up and around.
Yeah, because they own all that acreage there. If we wanted just to go follow 308 again.
Who the school going to the backside of it?
Yeah, right around the backside. That's where that road leads down right back into Crescent City, that one road that we took.
Yes.
Yeah.
It goes back into Crescent City, and you come right up that road,
Right.
and
Yeah,
it's just around the backside.
And I'm not saying that, please, no, I'm not saying that they won't, I'm
It's
just
just
saying
gonna
that
be
later
on
on.
Facebook, you know, that you wanna annex in the, school.
I think Commissioner Burton's mic is down.
Well, thank gosh, it's not them.
I'm messing with it right now. Okay,
Um,
but anyway, go ahead.
You understand, I'm just saying that in general, so if we expand something like that, I'm not saying it might benefit them, and they might want to be part of this.
The point Commissioner Lori's making is we could annex this side of 308, past the school, annex back over 308.
Yeah,
So
the
they're just-
freeway doesn't.
And then you could come back, come back down. You
We just couldn't close it off and create them as an enclave.
can't, right.
Yeah, we can't go all the way around.
Well, special attention, you know, they ain't got to do it if they don't want it.
But they don't pay property taxes, so it wouldn't be a difference to them.
Right.
The only thing that would be difference is if they are
They have to go through our plan to do process.
I mean, if it's already built, then the annexing, I mean, their water rate would be cheaper because they wouldn't have the extraterritorial surcharge.
And they might jump on that opportunity, I'm not speaking for the school district, I'm just asking, just in general, that, just so that we don't do something
Yeah, it's like-
that would hinder us as if we were to move out for it, if we were to move out for it.
And sometimes it might be helpful for a joint planning session with Putnam County, and to be able to talk about those areas that potentially could be part of Crescent City's, annexation, not just a school board, but any, undeveloped land that's gonna be for the purpose of development, urban development.
That just stuck out to me that was contiguous. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so, moving on, if you're gonna have more questions on page 9, voluntary annexation. These are owners of real property incorporated in Putnam County, which are contiguous and regionally compact, they petition, to be annexed into Crescent City. And here's those procedures for doing that. Unless there's questions on page 10, I'll move on. Oh, actually, that's it.
That's it.
Yeah, but we've done all.
Okay, so we have no, okay, I'm good. We have no more questions on annexation. Okay, we have none.
Alright, so I'm
Let's go
gonna,
back to
I'm
sign.
gonna save this, Karen, to this desktop. This one
Oh,
is-
that's fine,
that's the commission.
that's fine. That's the right one.
Doesn't have separate.
That's not the right one.
Yeah,
That is
Yeah,
the right
there's
one.
two files on that drive.
That's the right one. That's the one that the
Yeah, it
corrections
doesn't
were
have
on.
severability on it.
Well, actually, what else was missing, BJ? I mean, are you
Look
sure?
at the,
Let's see, if it's just not updated.
There's two different ones on there.
we loaded two different ones on there.
This needs to say these things. Yes, it is on here, this, the table of contents has not been,
So it's just the table of contents?
yeah, that needs to be updated, and these corrections need to be accepted, which is, this is what I have on my list.
Okay. But this
That
has all
changes.
changes.
This is the one you guys have, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if we go up to the definitions, we can figure it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
We have it, it's just not the table of contents. is
Right,
not
it's gonna be
what I'm
added.
saying, so.
12, 13.
That's it. But that's severability, that's the one we have with you.
Mhm.
We're done. So if we're starting off with signs, permitting, definitions, standards, non-conforming, exceptions, enforcement, and severability. So this is the same as 2011, ordinance dash 22, I think, that I said in my presentation. And so under definitions.
You mean 22-11?
Yeah, 20.
2022-11, I think that's what we
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Freestanding sign.
So freestanding sign would be under definitions on page 2. That if the board accepts a recommendation, that we would then, depending on the board's will either include it or not do it.
Would you add to 9.3 standards under the following signs are prohibited in all zoning districts? Would you add it in there?
I think that would be, clearer if normally if it's not in code, it's not allowed, but it's clearer. I mean, you can't be too clear.
But then we want to leave the definition, right? So that if we say that it's forbidden and the zoning hasn't already been, we want to have the definition so we know what that means, right?
We could do that.
This particular, to me, this particular definition, to the sign with display face elevated off the ground by columns or posts, which is not physically connected to any structure. So are you saying all of our signs have to physically be connected to structures?
Or the monument
Or
signs.
be monument style?
Which
Or
is
monument signs?
Sign.
So if I have a sign that I want to put in that has 2 columns to hold up, because it says columns or posts, this doesn't sound like it's one pole going up in the air that says McDonald's on it. It actually sounds like,
Well, a two posts, but it's not a monument sign, it's a, they're considered pole signs even if it's more than one pole.
So we're allowing those, though, that they're on 2 posts, correct? Is that what we're saying, we're not going to allow them if they're on 2 posts?
Correct.
So
that's what
probably,
it sounds like to me, like you're getting
Well,
rid of.
I don't agree with that.
No, I don't agree with that.
I don't agree with that.
It
I'm
doesn't say,
thinking the pole, and it says on here, of course, it says signs on public utility posts or poles, that would be public utility, but it says on poles, I'm sure it has public utility. That's what I'm thinking, is just a sign that just sticks up in the air, flying J.
Mayor, where
or
are you?
Winn-Dixie.
Or
This would include the Winn-Dixie sign. We would not get another Winn-Dixie style sign. Or the Save-A-Lot Plaza sign.
But what about like the new sign that Alice Designs has out in front of her, or Coldwell Banker, that is, you
they're
know,
on,
they're just holes, they're only two
You know,
feet off the ground, and
Yeah,
those are
two
monument signs, but what are they?
Yeah, those are not, they're neither a monument sign or what I would consider a pole sign.
I mean, if we were west in Florida,
It's
I'd
just
see
got 2
that,
posts.
but
It meets the height of 8 feet, our requirement. Mark just reviewed it recently.
Well, that's different, I would think that's different. I picture pole sign tall and on one pole. That's,
How could we tweak this?
we could add pole sign, a single pole sign.
As a definition, say that they're not allowed. And then just leave the freestanding signs.
let's talk about this for a second. So that everybody has a clear picture of what we're talking about. Because you could have a sign, and it could be a nice sign, and it could be 6 feet tall, and it could be on one pole. Okay, it could come up, it could be 6 feet, but it might not be a big sign. It can still be a very nice sign. And we're saying that's not something that we will allow a business to do.
Well, it sounds like what we're saying is we will restrict it by height. So anything over, like currently we allow, I remember if it's 8 or 12 feet, is it 12 feet? Within here, we currently allow a certain height of, like, even a monument sign is, that was 3 feet above grade.
That's something.
Because her sign met our current code, is pretty much this code we're looking at. And it is, I think it's 8 feet high. So we might say any sign
So any sign exceeding 6 square feet put in place shall require a permit issue, so that's the height limitation, sounds like.
That's six, that's,
No,
that's area.
That's area, that's not height.
Very good.
Let's see, you're right, okay.
Well, Mayor, could I say a couple of things? Yes, sure. Okay. I think BJ is correct, that regardless of whether you're going to allow them or not allow them, definitions are just definitions. So I don't see the need to delete freestanding sign from the definitions. I mean, there's other sections that say whether a sign is allowed or not allowed.
It's, okay, this on page 8, no other sign provision, no sign shall exceed 20 feet in height without specific approval of the city commission.
And then the monument signs shall not exceed 8 feet in height. And
Could we say pole or freestanding sign over, or freestanding sign over 12 feet high or something
Yeah,
like
'cause this
that?
also says any standing sign shall not exceed 20 feet in height.
So you
What
don't-
page is that?
That is on page.
So that's really 2 stories, I mean, so you're looking at, that's a whole sign going up 2 stories. And if you get, let's say a McDonald's, for example,
Where you have-
typically their sign, when they put their sign up, they put it right even
Right at
with
the bottom.
their top of their,
Without one, and then down below it.
Unless they put it as high as they're allowed to.
yeah.
In the next part back, it shows the, it says the requirements.
So the Nixie sign, that actually doesn't meet our code, but because they were just redoing an existing sign, they were allowed to redo it, but they wouldn't be able to put that up now,
Yeah,
that sign. I think it's probably over 20 feet high.
So I'm on page 8, and it says no sign shall exceed 20 feet in height. Are you reading that?
Yeah.
yeah.
We want anything over 20 feet without permission.
But I guess, Charles, you were proposing lower height of sign.
That's my recommendation, we lower the signage, so we could change that provision to say 12 feet in height. 15
I would
feet,
say
right?
total height, so that means top of the sign
Yeah, the top of the line.
is 12 feet.
So are we talking for the freestanding sign?
Instead of.
Any sign, just that provision where it talks about the maximum height, you just got it up there.
Go up.
And we're skipping, we are skipping around, so.
Well, we wanna make sure we get that.
If you'll make that, and then let's go back to,
Okay, so shall not exceed,
Where's the 20-foot reference?
right here,
Yeah, it's enough.
Big,
other,
Right there.
F1,
yes,
make that 12 feet.
okay.
Yeah, I have a question about our choice of 12 feet. I mean, Charles, did you have something in mind earlier? I mean, is there a standard for commercial signs? Or we,
I just pulled that out of the air, because my idea was to eliminate pole signs, but we're looking for different language here, so 12 feet is, could be 15 feet, depending on how tall you want the sign, that's good.
Well, this doesn't say that they're forbidden, you just have to get some commission approval.
Yeah. So they have a sign I think is really cool, and it's 15 or 20 feet high, they'll have to come to you for approval.
and I understand where Charles is coming from, but I also know as a business owner, the biggest thing you've got to do when you open a business is get your sign out there. And you want a nice sign, and some of those signs are very expensive. And so I just think that we need to be a little bit more, lenient as far as them being able to be on poles, as long as, and that, we're gonna get down into this too, because, we don't want hand painted signs, we don't want, neglected signs, and so I think as we get down into there, we can talk about some of those conditions.
A lot of the visual blight, think about anything from International Drive So even 17 through Palaca is the sign color, the giant tall
Signs that we don't want.
overlapping signs.
It's considered visual weather.
Yeah.
It's required.
What,
I think about Vermont, and Vermont doesn't allow any of that. It's very beautiful.
and aesthetically, it's pleasing, it's easy on the eye, and what you really need to make sure is your speed limit. So you can have time to read some. So,
I wanna know where the Buckies are though.
what many times you know what to exit lane.
I mean, 12,
I'm just saying, I mean, there is a reason for the sign.
Yeah.
there is 12 feet, 12 feet, that's higher than than a lot of buildings, goes up to the rooftop. So, I mean, that might even be too high. So, I mean, if that's something, is everyone comfortable with 12 feet, would we want to make it a maximum of 10 feet?
So maybe you wanna just say, anything
just about-
freestanding.
Yeah, and then they could come to us for approval for anything over that.
So I think what we would prefer the best is a lot of monument signs. I mean, there's some towns that's all you have are monument signs, and they're very attractive, and you don't have all that. Like you said, visual clutter, you don't see much stuff that doesn't block your views, and it's very attractive.
And most people are following where the maps are, where
Right.
businesses are. Well, versus reading.
But monument signs are a little bit more expensive, I think, than
That was my question.
They are,
you can say you can put work and stuff like that.
They kind of design.
they can be, that's what I was saying, is it can be a little cost prohibitive.
But however,
Or
though,
you
you know,
just,
I'm trying to say that signs, you know, if I go into Orlando, just as an example, and I'm looking for a doctor's office or a, complex, and I have my doctor's office sign, which is very, very small, but the sign that has all of the doctors, you know, is, I don't know if you consider that a monument sign, I don't know what you would call it. But I mean, they're not overly huge, they actually, most of them look pretty good. But you need signs like that, you know, depending upon what you're kind of looking for. So the GPS gets you to an address,
You need a directory.
but then you need kind of, you know, is my doctor, is that where he is, kind of thing. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of throw that in. The signs are confusing, what you want to do.
which need to be there.
Mayor, actually, to Commissioner Burton's point about trying to find a particular location, one thing that is the most helpful to me and that is frequently lacking is requiring businesses in particular to have their, street number on the building. Because if you know the address of the building you're going to, that is very helpful, regardless of whether the name is exactly on it. And, you know, you can be hit by a car if you slow down to look for a name. Some businesses just don't put the number there where you can see it. And I think that's important. So anyway, so to me, on monument versus pole sign, I do agree that reduction of visual clutter would make us more attractive looking. But the monument signs are expensive, so it might be nice at this point to, you know, have a compromise, allow non-monument signs of a more limited height. And I don't know, is it possible to give an incentive for people to put up monument signs, you know, that would be it. But I would prefer not to see huge, tall visual clutter. We're a small place anyway, but I don't want to prevent people from being able to have a sign because we require something too pricey.
And we could have it that it's on two, that it is mounted on two poles, because usually if it's mounted on two poles, you have kind of a frame.
We also require that the bottom of the signs no lower than 8 feet, right there in that number 2.
So if we change this to 12, you know,
So it's gotta be an 8-foot gap, poles have to be 8 feet tall. And then the sign would be from 8 to 12 feet, 4 foot high sign.
so we're changing this as well.
Yeah, that didn't change to 12.
flower shop.
And then how about above finished grade?
Are we good with 8 feet? We want 8 feet clearance basically under the sign.
But that means they have to be 8 feet.
Then that's automatically putting them up
Yeah.
there.
So we want to reduce that to like 2
Yeah.
or something, so it has to be at least 2 feet above the
Well, 2 feet's not, but I would say at least 4 feet. Because otherwise, that right there, to me, that encourages them.
Right. If it's 8, we're gonna start at 8 feet, no matter what.
Well, if you put a limit of 12 feet in height, that guarantees how big your sign's gonna kind of be, but, I mean, so therefore, if you put a 2-foot sign underneath the very top of that, then you have 10 feet worth of poles holding it up. I don't know if that's a problem or not. Most people are not gonna put a big sign up like that.
Well, what that was doing is it was saying that you couldn't, your sign would have to start 8 feet in the air.
Well, see, I don't want that.
And so that's why we're bringing it down to 4.
So it's, yeah,
And that's.
And no higher than 12.
and no higher than 12.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I like
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we go back to, can we start back at the beginning? Let's go back to page 1. Do we have any comments on this where it says signs or starting with the permitting? I have, if anybody has anything, I do have a question. On permitting, it says it's only, any sign exceeding 6 square feet. Charles, would we not want all signs to have to come in for approval? I just feel like if we require all to come in for a permit,
Sandwich signs, those kind of things, you don't, the difference is that because they're coming inside every day.
you don't, but this is any sign exceeding 6 square feet. So I'm just wondering, do we just say
Any sign,
any sign?
So that would be besides the political sign for the election. It's 6 square feet.
So what would we-
Have 3 feet.
What would we be approving though if they don't need a permit from Putnam County to put a sign there?
Just that we would, that this has it, that we would issue a permit. That we would issue a permit for it already, that's what this says. We would issue a permit, meaning that we're giving permission when to put the sign up.
Okay.
Every political sign.
No, I would wonder if we could, if we want to put in there any permanent sign.
Yeah, I don't think we want to count the,
We definitely don't want to
this
count
building
that.
was just painted by XYZ painter.
No, but I'm saying any permanent, I mean, I don't know, that's a suggestion for y'all to, for everyone to think about.
Not over that. Anything that's gonna be permanent, probably should be permanent, or should bring to the board to make sure that it meets the requirements.
Well, and it wouldn't come to us, it would go to
Well, to
him,
the-
yeah.
Once one time you had to go to the county too. Because the county inspected my sign out there to the church.
Yeah, that's probably true,
Yeah,
yeah.
they did.
The electrical.
And they got,
Electrical and
the concrete got them both so big.
Yes. So,
so any permanent sign put in place within the city, across the city shall require a permit.
Then you don't get into somebody putting up a sign that we, disapprove of, just because they come in at that 5 square feet.
that's not. Okay, so we make those changes, the recommended changes, and then I'll go back after we do this and accept all changes. So, 9.2, the bottom of page 1 starts definitions. And from 2022-11, that's where EMC signs came in from that. We're gonna leave freestanding sign in.
Okay, do you have any questions on page 2 with the definitions?
Well, I didn't hear what she said about what sign came in with P and Z.
No.
Or,
EMC.
2022-11.
oh, EM, electronic
Electronic
message. Okay.
Um,
Is that the one then?
Sorry, I'll. Okay. No other questions on this one, on 3?
Okay, moving on to standards on 9.3. These are permitted in all zoning districts. I think that's something to keep in mind. So we have 1 through 10 under A. We did change, the political signs to 50 days prior to the election. And so that was a recommended change. We left that to the city commission for approval. That's almost 2 months.
Okay, wait a minute, what happened here? Ma'am, I have a question about this here. So, okay, I don't know, I brought this up at one point, I don't remember if there was an answer. The prior city manager had told us that there's a federal court case and that you can't restrict, putting out any kind of the length of time that you can put out political signs. That was Patrick Kennedy.
I do recall there being a discussion when Patrick was.
There was a discussion and he said that that was moved, there was a federal case and that you can't restrict it.
When during P and Z, we had a discussion about whether the 50 days was enough, because if you have a primary and a general, the primary is almost 50 days before the general election. So if someone's running in the primary, and then they go on for the general election, they're gonna leave those signs out for more than 50 days. I think we were arguing about whether just to take out the time limit. Just as long as we left in, you must pick them up within 48 hours afterwards. And at the time I was running for office, so I think you guys told us.
If you take this out, that means I can put a sign up, for, 360 days. I can have a sign up there saying I'm running, whether I am or not.
I think we discussed it, thought, we let the city commission figure it out. So
Apparently it was already 30 days.
it was 30 days.
Recommended to change it to 50 days.
Well, that was one of the ordinances that amended it a few years ago. Changed it from 30 days to 50 days.
Well, that was our 2022 amendments.
That was in 2022, that was in 2015.
So this wouldn't apply to the city because we don't, we're not part of that. But for those candidates that are gonna have to go through the primaries, that would mean they would have to come put their signs up, take them back down, and then put them back up right away. And so,
But those people with the primaries, I can understand the people that win leaving their sign, but the people that lose need to lose.
so that's why I'm wondering, can we put some specific language in here that during an election season?
Yes, and the law says that if there's, it's navigating,
We have the 48 hours after the election is over.
Well, after the election is over, maybe
it's why I need to subscribe to the law.
If we increase that for 120 days.
Okay, but the basic question is, can we do this? Patrick said we could not. I mean, if it's a First Amendment issue, it's a First Amendment issue. So before we figure out what days are right, can we do that?
And I think that was more, and that was relating more to in their front yards on their private property. Anytime they wanted to on their private property.
Right, so I don't even know what page we're on, what page
We're
we're
on
on.
page 4.
Okay, and so where does it say political signs?
It doesn't say political, that one's for 6. Then on 6.
We're talking about political signs, right?
Standards.
We're on page 4.
And I believe that, if I remember correctly, that's where it came up, that it is a First Amendment right on private property.
Yeah, I just
To be able to
Googled it.
put their signs up.
Wait, so this is political signs not more than 32 square feet for a political candidate, which has been in place in all enforceable law. These signs must be removed in 48 hours of the election. Okay, well, number 6 doesn't say whether it's commercial or residential. And this is a question I had. Number 1, if we're not allowed to regulate these signs, I think we need to figure that out for residential property, because there's no point arguing over it if we're not allowed, or debating it or whatever. But
I think you're actually right, that they can leave it on your personal property. I mean, but when you drive around, you see all kinds of political signs already out there. Some that have been out there since.
It is regulated on public
Some
property.
signs that have been up before the first election, still keep up, they take great pride in that, so that's,
wait a minute, something Lupita said, I think is very confused.
Okay, on public property. Or,
People can't put political signs on public property. That's not allowed.
okay,
Are you talking about commercial property?
yeah, I'm sorry, yes, not private. You can leave a sign up on your property for political signs.
well, that would be commercial as well, because if it's privately held, then that would still be commercial, that would still, I mean, that would, commercial property is privately owned.
Yes, your attorney, is asking if there's a limit on the number of days a political sign can be posted.
And if we don't really need that in our code, if you can leave it up as long as you want, then that's kind of a moot point, and basically it just should say that there are no signs on public property.
Well, I think that
We get into that argument all the time.
we do, the one thing that I do feel that's missing here is placement. Because that's a big issue with political signs, is that, how, if it's within the right of way, property, so we go back and forth, we need something that definitely defines that, Lupita, because that is always a fight that our code enforcement has to deal with. And if it's in writing, it's right there, you can't.
The problem is Pam has a floating definition of what right of way is.
Well, that's what I'm saying, that's why we have to have it in writing.
We can't redefine the right of way is what right of way is.
I know, what I'm saying is it needs to be stated
Okay,
in here.
so right of way is already defined. And that it's not clear, you can't tell always where the right of way is by just looking. So I think it's more giving direction to Pam, because she has a floating definition of how she determines right of way. And I don't think we can change it in the sign, change what right of way is in the sign standard.
You're not, what I said is it needs to be specifically stated in here, that it needs to be on the private,
No signs on right of way.
on the right
But
of way.
that's not the issue. The issue is where, I mean, do people have
They're
to
trying to define.
get out their sign?
And I understand that, but at least if it says in here, it cannot be on the right of way, and we have a definition of what a right of way is, she at least has those two to back her up when she goes and they violated it. At least she has something to back her up.
Okay. The state of Florida got a man, that campaign season, that's all he do. He go around, he takes them to the state place up there in Pulaski, and then you can go up there and get them.
Right, but we can't redefine what right of way is. We can't say where you
I'm
can
not
put
asking
the
you to
sign.
redefine, that's not what I said, I did not ask you to redefine, I said to state it. I said it needs to be
It's
stated
already defined.
in
But it
here.
has to be on the right of way.
Right.
Okay, the problem is, go out on a particular piece of property, locate the right of way. That sounds sweet. Well,
That's another conversation, but
There's
I-
things in line with whatever.
They go to the school.
That's,
Okay, so this is from n.gov, and this says that political signs with the approval of the property owner may be subject to local zoning regulations. So there is some allowable zoning regulations, and this is specifically for political signs.
and where did you get that?
From n.gov,
What's N.gov?
it is a where folks go look at federal law and I have to pay for the subscription for that.
Okay, to me, I just think we should table this until we get an answer from Bobby, because I don't think any of us here are qualified to make the decision.
Pursuant to chapter 479, no political campaign advertisements shall be erected, posted, painted, tacked, mailed, or otherwise displayed, placed, or located on or above any state or county road right of way. That's what it states right on the Florida Senate,
That's chapter 479.
479, chapter
But
479.
if you could even use that language, you could even, for what I was getting at, is just to give our code enforcement officer something, we all know what, typically you know that if there's a sidewalk, that the right of way is on the street side of the sidewalk. So,
Mhm. Do you want me
I'm gonna
to,
have to research that.
okay.
do you want me to copy you that today? Okay,
We'll come back to that.
I will right now.
This provision does not preclude municipalities from imposing additional registration requirements on the usage and removal of political signs or political campaign advertisements. Because this is that the state law says you have to remove them within 30 days,
Mm-hmm,
but we're saying within 48
48
hours,
hours,
and we're allowed to do that.
because you're a municipality.
we can make it stronger, not weaker.
Whatever. I don't know, I think there's a court case out there. That's what we were told.
Not on the removal, I don't think on the removal,
Yeah, it's-
after a political season.
We're going in a circle, aren't we? Are we talking about commercial
Okay,
signs?
never mind,
or
let's move
residential?
on, let's move on.
Okay, but I have a question about, the historic markers.
Okay.
Well, I think our page is different, on mine, that's page 4, it's above where the political signs are, it's standards 9.3A.
Or,
4. And, but this is all zone districts.
she's got it.
Okay, so, but I'm trying to see if it's all zone districts or the commercial or whatever. So historic markers are being limited to 4 square feet, that's a 2x2 sign. That's, just a little bigger than a temporary realtor sign. Is there a reason for the 4 square feet?
Is that a graveyard?
Not like the markers that they put, the metal markers that they put on there, that's what you're talking, that's what you're referring to, okay.
And
Wait, metal markers they put where?
You see them all the time on historic buildings, they'll put the metal, the metal, it's like a box and it goes and then it goes.
National Register.
Yeah, National Register type sign. That's what I think that's referring to.
Okay, but, there's also, if you have the larger sign, the National Register sign, those are taller and bigger than 4 square feet.
Well, the one in at Dexter Beach, that's his
Right.
marker, that's 4 square feet.
That's what I'm thinking of, there's one at the AME Church for Philip Randolph, and there's one right at Dexter Beach for Bicentennial Park, right?
Yeah, those are all 4 square feet.
Yeah, they all fall
They call it a 2x2.
Is that what they
Yeah.
are? They look bigger than me. But are you allowed to get a variance for any of this?
These are just,
We could put in there, that's, if you would like that added, for each one historic marker not exceeding 4 square feet in size, you could have unless otherwise approved by the commission.
Put that on the form.
It's
Let's
kind
go
of
with it.
uniform.
Or do you want to do it as a condition or planning and zoning? Do you want to give that to planning and zoning so they're historic, because since we have our historic, or do we want to do it by commission?
Historic markers across the United States have a certain size to them.
Yes.
You don't want to be a non-dog and all of a sudden have real small signs or humongous signs. You want to kind of stay within that.
I think it's a true historic marker, just a true historic marker.
like read this, I was picturing the ones that you put on the side of the building that says, you know, and 400 square feet is plenty for that. There's freestanding ones that the state puts out, that the state approves and pays for, the approved language on, I think is a separate entity.
Yeah,
Separate
they're
project.
definitely,
They're definitely bigger than 4 square feet.
That's
So
why
my,
Yeah.
so my question,
I don't think it applies to this.
so my question goes back to 4, and we want to put that it goes unless otherwise approved by the commission or otherwise approved by planning and zoning.
Well, this is for a lot,
Hmm?
just, these are for each lot, semi-public, so that's not considering what you would read if you were coming up to on this spot, this house.
Right. This is not what that is.
For your zoning districts lots.
Okay, well, the AME Church is in a zoning district, it's on a lot, and it's got a large historical sign.
Well, this was approved 2022-11, so there's no
It was
changes.
there, it was there prior to that, it was grandfathered in. Okay, but then we might have new ones, like, so what do we want to change, what do you want to change it to? Something,
can we pick,
Unless
can you
otherwise
picture
approved.
a 4x4?
I can't.
Take that table right there. Cut it in half, here's 4 feet, and then add an extra probably 1.5 feet on the edge of that. That is a huge sign.
Oh, it's a
It's
big
huge.
size. I don't know.
So,
really don't. Okay,
You
so,
know what I'm trying to say though?
So- Commissioner Vito, what language in here would you like to see that you want to see us put? I would say unless otherwise approved by the planning and zoning commission. Okay, is everyone approved, and everyone's in agreement with that? Are y'all in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Okay, so planning and zoning, okay. Do we have anything else on here? Charles, if we do the wayfinding signs, if we ended up doing wayfinding signs, it won't, we don't have anything in here that will conflict with that, do we?
I don't think so.
Usually the sign points, that's the way
So-
here.
But it might have,
Here.
but it might have several, I'm just making sure.
There's two kinds of wayfinding.
Now, we could do a person's body. No, and. We
One is,
can take care of it.
Government sign,
Yeah.
boat ramp. And, those are the ones that say all shun names.
I'm thinking the ones with all the, the shop names.
It's basically, those are usually classified as off-site signage, which is defined, find it here.
Okay, so we can move on to B, no, the following signs are prohibited in all zoning districts.
Okay.
So, is everybody good in the other one? Any other questions? Lisa, do you have any other questions?
Just, I'll hold it till whenever we get an answer on political signs.
Okay.
So these are, what's prohibited in all zoning districts, so this is flashing, moving, or intermittent lighting, this does not include time and temperature, or anything that utilized to announce, governmental services.
So that would be like the sheriff's signs, they would still be approved, right?
Those are not prohibited, those are, that does not include that.
Wait. So where is the sheriff's sign brought in
It's
here?
not, it's governmental services.
To announce governmental services, under B1, the last sentence.
Okay, but this does not include time and temperature units utilized to announce government services. Those are kind of two separate things.
Yes, and or. And or utilize, so number one, if you look at the screen, it includes and or,
So what about like that, the speed,
or utilize to announce governmental services.
Okay, so you're saying there's gonna be, this is gonna be compound or the alternative, we're including both time and temperature signs and governmental services signs.
Yeah, if you look at that one that's on the slide, B1 and or,
Okay, so why is that not my copy?
That should just
because
add.
I just added it
Oh,
at your recommendation.
Okay, if you on that page.
There's the one five.
Okay. Moving on to 5, these are permitted in residential zoning districts unless not allowed due to other provisions of this article.
What was on the minute? I just have kind of a really dumb question, that introductory paragraph, sentence after C. Instead of the words not allowed, why wouldn't you just say unless prohibited? It sounds really confusing. That double not allowed.
Okay, if you look at that C1, it's been addressed.
Everybody's okay with that, just double take kind of thing. Well, do you know what else I wanted to shoot
You want to talk?
So I have a question about that actually. Per street frontage. Don't they, some of the, like Grundy Court or Thomas Court, don't they have a sign at each driveway that says what driveway it goes to? They have more than one entrance. And on the same street.
Which one? True.
I'm talking about C2 for multifamily housing developments. I mean, if it's a,
One sign per street frontage, if you have 2 entrances,
You have two street
you have 2
frontages.
street frontages.
is that what that's
Cause
called?
you would be on, yeah, you would be on Grove and Oak.
Because they don't have 2 entrances on the same road, is it?
I think they
Grundy
do.
Court goes from
I
one side up to the
I
other
read
side.
this as being just one,
Yeah.
one per entrance.
Well,
And
okay,
we could put one per entrance, I mean, we could, if that would make you more comfortable, we could suggest that.
I think it would,
Then what language would you like to put in to use?
well, I guess per entrance, yeah, but what you said, I mean, I understand, I mean, these are larger developments,
For
but,
street entrance rather than frontage?
I guess, I mean, there's Lupita thinks that makes sense.
Does that make sense, Lupita? Commissioners, are you okay with that? And that would be in C2, multifamily housing. They have one identification sign per street entrance.
You could just say that.
They know it's one thing comes like this. They will.
Well, but there could, I mean, you don't know what there might be in the future, and that's kind of an example.
So are we, is that what Lupita?
Yes,
Okay.
Can we say per entrance instead of per street entrance? That's, yeah. A weird, I would just say per entrance. You just get rid of the street, right?
Okay, that's fine. Okay, anything else on this page?
I make this the same, edits to D, prohibited in the provisions of this chapter. Deleted that not allowed D2.
Two hundred 50 square feet, that's pretty big sign.
Mhm.
The total surface of all signs, 250
So
square
that
feet.
you might allow.
That's like a 12 by 12, right?
No, that's larger than
25 by 25.
Well, that's all like 148.
So that would be if you had, a,
144.
like a strip mall, all signs.
Okay.
It's not 250. All signs for that site. This is in a commercial zoning district.
But that's awfully big.
All signs is a combination of all signs, so it wouldn't just be one sign, it would be a combination of all signs. So say like down here at our strip mall that we have, it would be Save a Lot signs, thank you signs. All of those signs in combination cannot exceed the 250 square feet.
Well, wouldn't it be a little more clear to say, to make clear in number one, that that's for a multi-unit commercial establishment?
Starts off the same, the following signs are permitted in commercial zoning.
Right,
Because it doesn't.
but not all commercial is a strip mall, right?
Yeah, but it could be that you've got multiple businesses, you know, that's not a strip mall, that they all are using one sign board and then they all have signs on their buildings, is that correct?
Well, to me, it would be more clear if
Okay,
it's
so
specified,
what are you proposing?
just all signs for A instead of B site, a multi-unit site.
All signs, I'm saying, say that again.
All signs for multi-unit sites, because we're talking about, this number one is about,
On one, so let's go to one, so what she's proposing, a total surface area for all signs at a multi-unit site, is that right?
Yes.
A multi-unit site? Yeah. Okay, so she wants to put multi-unit site
So if it's a D1, we make
right
our
there.
recommendation, yes.
Is everybody okay with that? Okay. And would be a window advertisement, that would be advertisement, that wouldn't be window art, correct?
Thank you.
Do we have anywhere in here for the signs inside a multi, like a strip mall are all uniform?
Doesn't sound familiar.
No, I think inside, we can regulate.
Pardon?
I mean, on the window, we can.
The ones that like, you know, you have your big sign up front and then on each unit, you have each one with the different businesses. I know they do this in Broward County a lot, like all the cities, you can't just put up whatever sign you want on the front, they're all uniform and the same size, like it has to be, 3x6 or something. We don't have to tell them what size it has to be, but they all have to be uniform.
I think she might be in your architectural standards for commercial.
I remember reading that somewhere, and you can tell when you go to Broward County, one side of the street is one city, and one side, the other side is another. And one side will have it, so it's uniform, the other side does it, and you can tell the difference, you just will. It looks so much, more orderly and not less cluttered.
Okay, do we have anything else on this page? Everyone's okay with the A-frame signs? Shall be removed at the end of each business day, and shall not be placed on state or county maintained rights of ways.
Well, good luck with that. Good luck with that. Well, actually, I do have a question because we're in, all signs are permitted in commercial zoning districts unless prohibited someplace else. So, okay, where is it that we have actually how large commercial signs can be? Is that in another section?
Total surface area.
No, that's not
It's in it is in there, cannot exceed a certain surface area, square footage. I think
It's on C, it's 5C. Maximum sign area shall be 32 square feet.
Okay, but that's only applies to banners, portable signs, or other temporary wall signs. I guess I'm not finding a maximum square footage just for your garden variety, single site, commercial site.
Well, that's what D1 was. But the 250.
I don't think we
No, I was saying that was the max, that was really for a
Well, we
multi-unit site.
say multi-unit, but that was, it's a commercial.
But, okay, but are we, but we were.
So do you want to add one in here that gives us the square footage? I mean, so
Oh.
I would like us to add, if we need to add language.
Okay, I'm thinking there's something kind of missing because D1 really applied to, the mayor pointed out, all signs for a site were limited to 250 total square feet. But that was contemplating multiple signs all added up, right, ma'am?
Yes, well, Peter, do you know if one in here where it says, and if we did, how large based on our requirements are we going to be able to allow them to go? Well, we already know 6 feet, over here, it can't go over,
On each one of the sign types have a maximum.
Okay, there's freestanding sign, 100 square feet and sign area. Okay, so even I can figure out that's 10 by 10 roughly. That's freestanding signs. That's over
And she,
that, yeah.
and that's a monument sign, which is 150.
in the very beginning, when we talked about permitting, we said anything over 6 feet and, 6 square feet would have to come for a permit.
Right.
Now, that said 6 square feet, it didn't say how big we would allow the permit to go, but we could,
So when you get down to G,
When you get, okay, there are surface areas in G, that's what I wanted to know. When you look, fine, okay, when you get back to G, it gives surface areas for all the different types of
Yes, it
signs.
does.
Okay, I just want to make sure we have that somewhere. And apparently we do. Okay,
okay, so on 7,
Okay.
off premises signs,
This is where the pedestrian wayfinding would come in.
okay.
It doesn't really address it. One of the things, little Peter, that concerns Mark always said, well, it's not in your code, it's not allowed. So we may need to put a provision in here where,
that's not.
pedestrian scale wayfinding for commercial uses, something is permissible.
right, but don't you do you wayfind for recreation areas as well?
Well, this is the kind like, if you go to Mount Dora, there's all the shops on the sign pole. So it's got all little shops this way and all little shops this way. Versus, street, car, well, those are for people, the ones for cars say Dexter Beach
Yeah.
would be left and Sunrise Park would be right. It's the more driving destination is a DOT standard sign. These are little signs, like there used to be one where the
The land
light
has,
pole right out here used to have
have.
signs all over it. Curves is this way and thrift stops that way.
Okay, so if you're
this
on,
is the land and they have them too, they have them to the,
right, but if you're,
I would say pedestrian,
Just exempt 25 signs.
okay, but why wouldn't we have wayfinding signs for pedestrians to Lion Park and Dexter Beach?
well, those could be
we would,
included.
but those would be more governmental, and he's talking about no business.
The little signs, like you see, this is somebody's fish can.
Yeah.
So we can say pedestrian wayfinding signage for commercial and, local destinations, local amenities,
Yes, there you go.
commercial
Yeah.
and local amenities.
So I'm confused, wayfinding signs or government signs?
No,
No, we're adding
the ones that tell you where to go to the parks for the city, like the city would put those up.
Right,
Those would be governmental signs.
okay, but are those called wayfinding?
It could be wayfinding, but they would be governmental and would they be excluded,
What's that, the big sign?
if we were to do it for the city?
Um,
She wants wayfinding to the park is what I think I'm.
That's what I'm saying, local amenities, so
No, I'm just asking, I don't know the difference.
we're saying that an off-site signage definition will include pedestrian wayfinding signage for commercial and local amenities shall be allowed in, you want it in all or?
I mean,
or
if you're gonna put that, you don't know if it's gonna be commercial or it's gonna be.
I would say could say appropriate, well, we only need to
It
define.
does say nothing.
I would say central business district and GC one, if you really want to know that. In commercial districts.
Because that's really where they're gonna be.
Commercial zoning, yeah.
Your commercial zones.
So don't we have to comply with our own sign regulation? Okay,
Yeah, we can put on there if there's room, the boat ramps are this way, and people want to walk down the boat ramp.
right, you would think.
Do we need to
I think
do
that,
that?
So
So
our
that's-
public areas, what do you want to add to that, Commissioner? You have just pedestrian wayfinding signage for commercial, comma,
No, Charles got a local
Local
amenities.
local amenities, I put that
I
too,
I
okay.
think you can end with commercial, they have to say commercial zoning districts. Would that include the central business district? Commercial zoning district.
Do we need to say mixed use? Or is mixed use automatically
It's
commercial?
automatically, I think that's, we got that.
I don't know, what about the wayfinding signs set for the DOT ones, like you're saying? The government signs, the lots of the have.
Because we don't currently say DOT's allowed to put their signs up, you know what I mean? We don't have a section on allow stop signs, speed limits.
If it's not in the code, then it's not allowed.
Well, then we're not allowed to have stop signs and speed limit
Yeah,
signs.
I think,
DOT's gonna do it.
yeah, I was gonna
It's different
say,
non-governmental signage.
that was my understanding. DOT's gonna come in here and if they want to put something out on median, then
Well, this doesn't cover any government signs, like our, even street name signs.
The whole sign is going on the street.
So I think we're okay.
anything else on this page? I mean, on this area, on the 7, off premise.
I think we're eight.
Going to 8.
I made a correction on H, added the applicant, I did that accidentally. That's correct.
Yeah.
Was your, what we got changed?
It is just TH, and
Oh, okay.
I missed one, so. Study signs for something else that was changed from 2022, I think.
Yeah,
A lot more than
we added that. That's what started this whole thing.
What kind of sign?
the feather signs.
Which other sign?
Oh,
So are we done with the electronic signs? Okay, let's go on to the better signs. I saw one the other day that's right now.
Right, that's from understanding, right?
Maintaining the condition.
Durability. And also, it's a limited time sign which we removed each day. We don't take them down every day.
That's the line.
Yeah.
Show the light on
Okay, do you have anything else on better signs? Any
Well-
comments?
I have a question. Well, I think that there's a business out on 308 that has better signs all the time. I mean, I guess we don't really enforce that.
Yeah, what you're talking about,
Food establishment on the
Halle's?
lake, yes.
okay.
I think, don't they have better signs that are up all the time?
They do.
Yeah.
Because they're closed until December 15th, I think. But very interestingly, across the street, at one of the businesses, right on the sidewalk the other day, there was like a blow-up, creature.
The man.
Yes, on a
man.
motorized thing, it was living on the sidewalk. I kept looking at it and wondering why it wasn't falling into 17. You know, the slope. Is that covered under any of this?
That's actually prohibited under DOT regulations.
I would have thought.
Yeah.
But do we cover that? Should we cover that? Because, I mean, it was taking up quite a bit of room on the sidewalk and it looked like it was gonna, possibly fall into the street. But or do we just have to wait for DOT to come do something or do we enforce that?
We could, if someone complained about it, we could enforce it. I'm not 100% right. I know generally speaking, they don't allow anything in the right of way. I'm not familiar exactly with it or how it's worded.
Well, because this was like an object living on a sidewalk.
Okay, so we're gonna go to E.
I'm having,
City Commissioner recommends special event sign.
This part I thought was confusing as heck.
I think you changed,
This is new, I think.
Yeah, that was,
what is here?
the special event signing.
If it's new, who put it there?
It was in
2022.
20.
Oh, 2020, I was gonna say, I thought it was familiar.
That's the word.
If it's, so Charles, let me ask you a question, and I'm just, or repeat it, whoever wants to, whichever one you want to answer this. So typically, we say, what is it, 5 days before the event, or a week before the event, we put up our special, like, the partnership puts up their, the market, farmer's market, Day of the Dead, we put those signs up, any of those event signs that we put up that's open to the public. But we put them in areas that we don't want to get, we don't want to have issues where we're conflicting with where other people are allowed to put up their signs. So do we have anything in here that states that basically, that because they put it right here at City Hall, if it's one of those events, like the farmer's market, we put it right here. But we don't allow, business signs there, we don't, it's only event signs.
Right.
Well, so I
It's
just want to
kind of our way
make sure.
to sponsor and support an event, is to allow sign space, temporary sign.
So I'm just wondering if there's something, yes, we'll do that.
Well, I don't know if this is answering the question, but it says, for the purpose of advertising or otherwise promoting a public oriented use or use of it. And so it, has to conform to the zoning requirements already. And so, this is, the events are appropriate for the location and so open to everybody. I don't know if that's answering the question.
No, I think my question is just making sure that when those signs go up, that we're not contradicting our rules. You understand what I'm?
Yeah, I don't think that we are, I'm talking about those nice signs, the
Yeah.
farmer's market. We put them on our property, basically.
Yeah.
We keep them out of the right of way. I feel like the way we're doing it is complying with the.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we're doing everything, so that we're not contradicting anything.
Okay, now I have a question about this, so observation. So, to me, there's no indication of what size these signs can be. And would this include banners, or is banners somewhere else?
There is a banner section which dictates the size. Let's see if it's later.
Because we have, we're banners, but to me, a word that's missing in E with the special event signing, is a little redundant, but it might be helpful to say temporary, and then we don't specify a size at all.
That says 32 feet,
Right.
slide.
Yeah, banners, portable signs, and other temporary wall signs shall be permitted under the following conditions. And then the maximum area shall be 30 feet, so 8x4 banner, which is pretty typical.
Okay, but where is that?
Should we
That's
put
previous under
Page
5.
6.
okay, can we put something in here, refer back to such and such for signage, for size signage? We want to do something like that. With that, rather than have to repeat it again, the size, you see look at what I'm saying?
Or I could create a table.
It has the size.
What is that? I guess they just refer to 9C.
That's D.
5. Is it D?
That's
Yeah, 9D5.
95 for sign,
Right, does not, okay, 9.95,
So I'm trying to figure out. The back part of it.
It's,
It's 9.3.
it is under,
9.3.
yeah, 9.3, D5.
Just put in parentheses, refer to.
What are we on?
for size.
It's on
Special
page
events.
8 of 11, E. You page 11. Yeah, E.
if there's banners or other temporary wall signs.
Okay, where do you want me to put that?
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Okay. It's already in 95, but you can repeat it.
No, you're just gonna say refer to, correct?
Where am I putting that?
Well, when we say notwithstanding other provisions of this chapter, such as 9.3.D.5, did that go there? Is that some other regulations on banners?
You can just make it number 5.
For, yeah, on
Oh, yeah, that's
five, you
true.
could just put for size,
Make it number 5.
size requirements, refer to 9.3. Da, da, da.
D5. Precise requirement.
These have to be fine.
I think it was D,
D5.
9.3.D.5.
Well, do we really want to have temporary signs that are 32 square feet?
No, 9.3 point,
9.3 D. Yeah, it's under standards.
5, yeah, 9.3 D.5.
Here's,
D5.
Not that 9,
C.
it's chapter 9.3.
I'm not seeing it either.
here. These fine.
And then under 5, it's the size. It would be
Now,
E, it would be D,
And a banner would be
or
15,
D, or C.
15 square feet, but the regular sign would be, doesn't seem right. Banners are 15 square feet, that doesn't seem,
No, it's 32.
well, no, that's maximum sign, that's your regular. A banner though, sometimes our banners are,
Well, this is saying banners under 15 square feet may be allowed as long as they're maintained in good condition. This isn't saying it has to be 15 square feet. It's saying if it's under,
Yeah, C is the maximum.
yeah. C is, the maximum is 32 feet, but if you're gonna do one under 15.
okay.
So where am I adding?
You're adding a number 5, E.
I don't need.
Yeah, E, which is notwithstanding other provisions of this chapter where we were.
Okay, next, so that's really. C. That's where I was, all right, so,
Yeah, that's 5.
okay.
For size requirements, refer to,
That was only one. Requirement for-
or you just repeat, maximum size would be 32 square feet.
I thought our little special event signs were a lot smaller, unless they were a banner,
So this will cover the banners that go at the ends of town.
right?
That was.
9.3.D.5.
1.3.
Point D.
So we're trying to tell her how to specify sizes for the special event sign, right? Okay. I got that one.
Actually, put after the 5, put C. Small c,
Yeah.
small case c. That is-
Okay, no other sign provisions at the bottom of 8.
For reaching
We've already changed that to 12 feet.
Okay.
Do we have anything else on here? Let's go to page 9.
G.
G.
Are we going to, the building projection sign allowed in the CRA, 25 square feet, not less than 12 feet left in the street? If you approve by the planning and zoning commission?
Yeah, it's a blade sign, basically, right? Over the sidewalk.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you okay with
But
that?
that's like, for the April Randolph Gallery, correct? And it would have to be approved.
Right.
And they're only allowed in the CRA.
Yes.
Why are they only allowed in the CRA? I mean,
Well, that's the entire commercial
The downtown.
property of the city.
no, it's not, but, you know, we got.
That's up and down.
The entire 17 corridor.
Oh, that's true, that's true. I'm sorry. I was thinking of Central Business District. Okay. Whatever. Okay, so you can't do that without special approval. Sounds good to me.
Okay, do we have any other comments on this?
No, I just have a question about, there's somewhere about lighted signs can't shine into,
That's on the previous page.
right, on the previous page, so, well, that's our code already,
Mm-hmm.
okay. And,
It's just basically saying if you have a lit sign, it cannot go into someone's property. Residence.
right, I have no idea whether that's enforced or whatever, but anyway, it's there, that's good.
Well, I'm sure if it was, somebody would be complaining about it, so we would know, so if that's an issue.
I think it's been mentioned, but, I'm not
It's also been our site design.
I haven't heard it, so
Still under
that would be.
Non-conforming.
non-conforming, C talks about deteriorating signs being removed, but it's only for non-conforming signs. If it's out of use, we can make them take it down, rather than maintain the non-conforming sign.
You know, I want to go back to, B. It really says signs which are non-conforming or become non-conforming through zoning changes shall be removed or made to conform with this code within the following specified time periods, which are much shorter. Who is watching these time limits on these non-conforming signs? Who is enforcing this?
That comes on yours.
After the end of the 7th year, the
You're
sign
doing
has become non-conforming.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's watching that.
Well, and I
And so
also,
why do we have it in there is all I'm saying. I mean, you can, if you say you're gonna do something like that, then you need to be able to enforce these things.
Well, then if it comes up,
No, it shouldn't come up. It should be in 7 years. You need to get rid of the sign.
got it. But if a sign becomes controversial, so we're going, why is that sign there anyway? And we didn't have this in here. You can say, well, we should have put something in about non-conforming signs being phased out.
Well, maybe, not even phased out. If they don't conform, then it should be taken down.
except for, oftentimes you're gonna grandfather a sign in. So you'll grandfather it in, it's been grandfathered in, now if it goes under new ownership, if there's anything that changes, that's your opportunity to
Well, it's
change
not
that.
saying that here.
This is
I know
preempting
It's
grandfather.
pretty,
I know,
pretty
so,
empty.
So I don't, can you name a sign right now that's not conforming?
Well, I'm just saying, if you're gonna put something like that in there, trust me, there will be a sign that comes up that's not conforming. There probably are signs out there, and right now I don't know any examples because I haven't really checked out.
well,
signs.
Winn-Dixie, you're saying Winn-Dixie would be a sign. So 7 years from the day it was erected, then they would have to take that down and
It conforms.
change that.
But who's watching? Who's watching that? Who's saying that Winn-Dixie is one of those signs that in 7 years are gonna have to conform to what we have written? That's all I'm saying. You know, if the sign is pretty and the sign looks great and the sign's in great shape, you know, I don't know. I'm just saying, you know, we say a lot of things and we don't do a lot of things until all of a sudden somebody complains and that can be not 7 years, but 20 years down the thing and it's falling off, it's, you know, I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
Do it, 7 years, they gotta conform,
Um,
all the same.
can I follow up on Commissioner Burton's excellent point?
I do think it's important, as Commissioner Burton said, not to have things in your code that you're not even remotely going to keep track of. It was my understanding that you have to, that there's a property rights issue, a taking issue. Just to declare that either a house or a building is non-conforming. So I don't know if that's true with signs, I always thought it was, that you can't just suddenly tell someone they have to take down their sign when they spent a lot of money on it. And the grandfather thing becomes important because we're changing the standards for our signs. So when we enact this, some signs will automatically differ from what's in here.
Will automatically become non-conforming at that time.
Right, so, okay, so, I mean, for some,
Maybe you should give a date as to when you should conform. And I guess if it's 7 years from now, that's fine, but personally, I think if we're starting to change things, they need to start changing with us. 7 years seems kind of lengthy to me, and, well, maybe within a year, if you change the sign or something, and that's how things get changed.
And most of this was already codified, and that's passing the ordinance,
Yeah.
2022 and before that. So when does that 7 years start, now or then, or?
Well, nobody's keeping track of it anyway,
Right.
so.
Look, Peter, what typically happens with people in communities when they change these rules and they have signs that then become non-conforming? Do they grandfather them in
It
until
goes
there
with
has to
amortization schedule.
Yes.
be?
And then, but you keep track of it.
Yes, and so what would help in situations like this would be adding, a software, that's easy to be able to track when signs are permitted, so you would start with getting a list of your permit signs, the date that they were, and then you would track it through, a permit tracking system, which, most local governments, even the smallest governments, are moving towards, because it makes enforcement easier, tracking easier. Staff come and go, it's hard to do if you don't have a way to track it.
And it don't make sense to pass a whole lot do a lot of changes and the public don't know about it. And
They don't pay attention to it.
you don't know anything about it, and we don't have nobody to enforce it.
I think we should teach civics, and
Nobody to enforce it. So
well,
who knows?
So what do we want to do with this language? So Commissioner Burton, do you have a recommendation that you want to?
Well, just like you say, the flashing signs which are non-conforming must be removed or brought into conformity. That's what we need to do. Period.
do we have any flashing signs?
No, that's what we need to do with all signs. None of this after the end of the 7th year, the sign would become non-conforming. It was non-conforming 7 years prior when we put this into effect.
Okay, I'm thinking right now the business owners. I'm sorry, you've got business owners that are struggling right now, especially with the state of the economy. And so if
But we have grants that help with signs. We have grants that do things that help them start to conform. We can do this. If you give them 7 years, they'll take the 7 years. In 7 years, it'll look like a 20-year-old sign, some of these signs.
Okay, well, hang on just a second. Lupita, I think that there's a taking issue there, that we can't just arbitrarily decree that certain signs have to be immediately changed. And I don't know that we want to take up our, even if we can do it, I don't know that we want to take up our limited CRA money to start changing people's signs. That could, pardon? Okay,
changing a sign, I'm gonna, and some of us have been business owners, if somebody, right now, if you change this and you come to me, and I'm gonna have to do a sign, and it's gonna cost me upwards of over $1,000, which it's going to, we all know how much signs are. I'm probably gonna look for someplace else maybe to move my business, because
Sure.
Because it's, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm looking at it from a business standpoint, yes, we want conformity, but I'm not comfortable, nor am I willing to vote for something that's going to tell business owners that as soon as we put this is codified, then they need to conform.
So what's your plan? You want,
Well, it's
you want to
already
give them
come
7 years?
Okay, well, Mayor, I was about to make a suggestion. Okay, number one, I think that we need to be very careful not to, violate federal law and create takings of people's property, including their sign. Number two, I agree with you, even if it's permissible under federal law, and I question that, Bobby can give us an answer, I don't think we ought to penalize businesses because we are changing our sign rules. So I think that, and you raised the issue of, does grandfathering apply or end when the business property changes hands? So that is something that I think also we need to get some clarification for, and we need to do a better job in our code of explaining the grandfathering. And then whatever the amortization code is, I don't know what the amortization code is based on.
I think that should be simple, very simple. This whole non-conforming signs and exceptions should be eliminated.
So nobody ever has to conform?
Nobody's checking,
Well, I
it's
don't,
not enforced,
I think we can come up with
nobody's
a
checking.
better
Well, you're
grandfather
angry, I
provision.
mean, you're coming across as you're being very angry about
I'm not
this,
angry.
but that's how it's coming
But
across,
that's,
you're
but that's
angry
the way I
about
feel
this.
about it.
We can bring the hammer, is that what you're saying? I'd recommend you bring a grant program with it. You go to a property owner and say, guess what, your sign, the new sign's like $3,000.
I just don't want something laying out there that you're not gonna enforce. So if you're not gonna enforce any of it, we don't need any of it.
How do we know that we do not know that we will not enforce it? And I do think we need to have some greater definition of what appropriate grandfathering is.
And there's ways to do this, it's like if you alter your sign in any way, any alteration of your sign would require you to come into conformity with the current sign ordinances, there's things that you can, there's other things, it's ownership, I mean, Lupita, I think there's several things that we could put in here. And like you said, it is gonna require code enforcement to track these signs, to know.
Well, I mean, it will never be enforced if we don't have a code, then for sure.
I realize that. I may be coming out a little strong, but my point is in Crescent City, you sometimes have a tendency to not do a very good job of it, that's all. So we say, we have a lot of words,
Do we have
put a lot of
any signs that
definitions,
are,
but then we don't really.
do we have any non-conforming signs currently?
I'm sure we probably do,
We're gonna find out.
you know?
Well, we haven't made any.
We haven't made any decisions, I just tried to make my point, I thought I made my point, and I'm done with my conversation with her.
I was saying that these changes, I mean, only except for the little things that we just tinkered with, this has all been in
This is
effect.
in effect.
We are not making huge changes and, not huge sweeping, change here. We're just putting it into our land development code instead of it being an ordinance. Which is so appropriate.
If there is one that's non-conforming, as evidenced by non-operation of a business or building vacant for a period of 6 months, there's one. And any sign that's been damaged more than 60% of its value, immediately prior to the damage shall not be destroyed except for if it comes into conformance. And, to avoid undue hardship, nothing in this section shall be deemed to require a change in the plans or construction for which a permit has been issued prior to adoption, within 3 months of permit issuance. So the only way to enforce that is to go back to 2211 and then go to your permits and how many signs have been permitted since 3 months prior to that.
So
If you wanted to give your code enforcement officer some guidelines on where to start.
and that's typical with grandfathering, so you're grandfathered in until, like you said, 60% of the damage has occurred, and then you've got to conform, so I think ownership, different things that we can put in there. Commissioner, Burton, do you have, would you be comfortable with that type of language? Or is there a certain language that you would, I mean,
I'm comfortable with most of this language, quite honestly. I'm just not comfortable with putting at the end of the 7th year, you know.
and I agree, because 7 years kind of holds us responsible. I do agree with that, it
7
holds us
years, it
responsible
has to
that,
happen.
that we've got to make them.
And if it's anything like our code enforcement board, when it comes to us after 7 years and they come in and say that they can't afford to change it, we don't make them change it. It's just their nature, okay, not to have things happen like that.
So Lapita, I think if we could look at some conditions that would require them to come into conformity.
Well, I think that, sometimes it's not easy to be appointed or elected official because you're with your neighbors. But that's, that comes with the territory of being an elected organization.
I don't mind being a commissioner, I don't have a problem with that.
So I do think that your regulations are, these aren't ones that we wrote, but I think they're well written. And I do think that there's plenty of time to come to, conformance. I think signs are cost of doing business. I mean, a lot of people had to pivot during COVID, right? And do things differently. Have to adapt to, all your ordinances are for the welfare of people. And
Well, you know, make our go weird. I suppose, I don't know.
I think, it's, in other cities where I may help, update land development code, it's included, a public outreach component, which we didn't have in Crescent City, but that would have included realtors, developers, business owners, so that we could have established what is it that you want to achieve downtown or in the commercial district, what do you want to preserve about it, what do you want to eliminate, and then you have a look at it. It helps with buy-in and it helps with, our unified vision.
So you're saying typically that's what you do when you do these, and why didn't you do them?
Because we have a small budget. The public, it's not too late to give, your budget to be able to include a public outreach component so that people can have a buy-in, particularly now that you're going to be working on the master plan. That's a great time to get your business owners and your, and those are the people that are going to matter for signs. Are your business people, and for wayfinding and those kinds of, that attract your tourists, depending on who your target audience is. It's not too late for them. Happy to do it.
Okay.
We done?
We're on 10, are we done? Do we have anything else? We've got the enforcement. I think we have the enforcement. Everyone's good with that? And it's out of the.
But what is a class 4 citation? Is that a thing that we have?
That's a price level, basically. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head.
But we do, that is.
Dollar amount,
that
yeah.
Is the real thing that we have in our code.
Sure. Now, we scheduled a workshop in December.
When?
I'm trying to remember it. Really, it's not on my calendar yet. Karen, you remember when we had that? We combined it with the personnel manual?
Yeah.
It's early, the first week, I think.
So it is the 7th at 3.
7th at 3 o'clock.
Mhm.
Are you okay with that, Lupita?
I am.
You see all this stuff?
Which one are they going over at the 11?
We're doing, I think what P and Z is doing.
They're just doing 11, they're not doing 2. We're gonna
I
be
need some
behind again.
clarification on two, because it's administration, and it, like, the length of the term of its standard, those kind of things, I couldn't find in the current code.
Oh, for
The boards,
Yeah, sure, your boards, yeah.
commissioners are set, but it's the board's like when they,
When they
is it from the
elect
time
to-
they start 3 years from 3 years? Remember we were discussing that the other day, that we couldn't figure out, that we needed to, they have to agree on something so that it's when they start 3 years from then, from that time, or is it 3 years from the year? So if they started this month, does it go 3 years from this month, or does it go 3 years from October?
Yeah, I'll have to figure something out. Let's create.
So we have to create something in order for it to bypass, to go to the board, so we don't know.
Well, let's bring
She's
it
kind
to
of
them
stuck
as
right
is.
there.
Okay, I can do that, then we can, as long as P and Z knows that we need some recommendations in there that we don't have, because I couldn't find it in the charter.
I mean, we can go over it on Thursday, but it's just something that I haven't sent to
So
them.
that workshop should finish us up with commission next month, right? December?
Yes, that's true. And so then what's left for the commission is, the maps, that bylaw, to do that, adopt it, make those changes. And have an understanding with this, within the boundaries, and whatever hasn't come before the board. I mean, for that commission.
You think we would do public hearing in January?
Yeah.
I don't believe you are, but I have
We're
a
done.
question. Oh,
You have a question?
yes, and if you could just hold the gavel for just a second, I'm very sorry, you've got bad family news. Just one question, somewhere in here, there's something that says a directional sign, can only be 2 square feet, that's 1 by 1. Maybe you want to take a look at that, I don't know, 1 by 1 is like almost nothing, it's like a little arrow.
You know, there's some of the parking, like, to show you where the parking lot is and stuff like that. Or right business.
Right.
Within a property, yeah.
Is that the standard
I
size?
think so.
And then, just real quickly, so abandoned, did y'all cover the abandoned signs? Hopefully.
Yeah.
Okay, you covered those. I have no idea what you decided about the grandfathering thing.
We're gonna come back with some language, like if conditions that would require it to come into conformity.
Okay, so I had a question just for land development code lighting in general. You know how there's the part in the lighted signs that says it can't shine into a building? Is there anything typically in a land development code that addresses, home or business lighting that is attached to structures and how wide an area that can affect or where it can shine?
It's in our zoning regulations that you don't have lights spill over from one site to another, especially commercial to residential.
That's correct, I think it's also in the architectural standards.
Okay. But does it apply from residential to residential?
I've never seen that.
Yeah.
So,
I live next to a guy in a pop that's lit up my yard with his yard.
So-
His floodlights.
so floodlights can shine anywhere?
I think under the current code, yeah.
Because we might want to consider that light pollution issue with residences. There's, where I live, there's light shining all over the place, and I've heard about it in other neighborhoods.
That's actually from commercial.
Right, but I mean, it's just as much of a problem. I mean, these days, people, you can go by anyone. I know it's not in the sign chapter, but I just wanted to raise it. And I noticed in the FRA booklet that Charles handed out, that was for the redevelopment association, but there was a whole thing about the dark sky initiative. Right, and that, I mean, residences can be, pretty bright here.
I couldn't scan that book in.
Okay, I didn't know.
It's a whole book.
Right, maybe it's on the,
It's probably on the FRA website.
it's probably on that FRA website. But anyway, and except for the Christmas parade, that's all I have.
Okay, before you tell, so we did include, a vacancy for a period of 6 months. You know, if the business has been having a 6-month operation, damage 160%. Is there more that you'd like to add to the grandfather clause, or would that be?
I don't know, I guess I'll talk to Bobby, just to make sure if there's anything else, and if you have any other suggestions,
Okay.
I'm open.
Okay.
Do we have anything else?
Maybe let's talk about the Christmas parade, or we can talk about it after the gavel.
What do you want to talk about with this today?
Is in past years, the commissioners have been invited, are we invited this year?
Of course.
Yes, of course.
Well, okay, because I asked about it and they said talk to the mayor. And apparently,
I've
I don't,
gotten that from several people, and I don't know why everybody keeps sending you to talk to the mayor.
well, I don't know mayor.
So the mayor says, because I guess, yes, you want to be in the parade, by all means, be in the parade.
Okay, but are we like supposed to fill out an application and pay $20?
No.
Okay, just trying to make plans.
And past years, you guys, who's right at the vote, the rest of them.
That-
That was using your condition. I was thinking in the vote. I can pull the vote with my.
Well, in the most recent years, we bubble around to golf carts or whatever.
Or walk, I like to walk in the parade.
Right, we're
I
walking.
like to walk in the Christmas parade.
We
So I'll be walking, and you're gonna be in the Corvette.
Yeah.
So Mr. Banks is our grand marshal,
Oh,
and he gets
okay.
to ride in the Corvette. Little black Corvette.
Yeah.
So, okay, with that, I'm going to adjourn this workshop. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful
I
Thanksgiving.
recognize you candidates, you want to pull up, you know, you don't care. I'm getting to it. I get a bag of super bears.